A 37-year-old fighter pulling off the biggest win of his career isn't something you see every day, and that's exactly why the entire boxing world is watching Terence "Bud" Crawford right now. He's more than a month removed from his statement victory over Canelo Alvarez. He's now 38, and he isn't rushing a decision about what comes next. That patience has the sport buzzing. Will he stay at super middleweight and defend those belts? Will he chase history at middleweight? Or will he entertain the rematch everyone keeps asking about? Before we get into the latest developments and what insiders are saying, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop your prediction in the comments. Should Bud Crawford stay at 168, go down to 160, or run it back with Canelo Alvarez? Your take might get featured in our next update. Here's where things stand. Crawford moved up 2 full weight classes to meet Canelo at 168 pounds, and he delivered in the biggest moment of his career. With all 4 super middleweight titles in hand, he sits on top of a division Canelo ruled for years. That alone is historic. Very few fighters climb multiple divisions and take out the most dominant name at the weight. Now, with undisputed super middleweight champion status secured, he has options, and none of them are simple. The most straightforward path is to stay at 168. It's the most comfortable weight for his current frame after bulking up for the Canelo fight. It's also where the biggest immediate money likely is, because a rematch with Canelo Alvarez would be one of the sport's largest events. Canelo is more than likely to remain at super middleweight, the division he unified and defended for a long stretch, which means the rematch talk won't disappear. If Crawford chooses to keep those belts and defend them, he'll have to weigh the competitive challenges against the business realities, mandatory defenses, and the timing of any potential second meeting with Canelo. But is a rematch the right move right now? Not everyone thinks so. Boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. has gone on record with his view of what Crawford should do next, and it's not the immediate rematch. In a recent interview with Ring magazine, Jones said he believes Bud should go down to middleweight and complete a rare feat across the division ladder. His words were simple and pointed: "I think he should go down and win a title at 160. Because he won it at 147, 140, 154, 168. Go get 160. You've got to close it off." That's fire. Coming from a man who knows all about daring to be great across multiple divisions, that advice carries weight. What Jones is getting at is legacy math. Crawford has already built an all-time resume. Titles at 140, 147, 154, and now undisputed at 168 pounds. Cutting down to 160 to claim a middleweight title would stitch together an extraordinary 5-division achievement, neatly filling in the gap between 154 and 168. Middleweight is one of the sport's iconic terrains. Think of the names that define it, the history, the lineage. If Bud were to drop to 160 and capture gold, he'd round out a championship arc that few in any era can claim. Of course, there's risk in that cut. At 38, going back down can be tougher than going up. He's put on functional muscle for 168, adapted his strength and nutrition to carry that weight, and looked strong doing it. Shaving off 8 pounds of lean mass while maintaining speed, timing, and punch resistance is not a trivial matter. The science of the weight cut, rehydration, and the timing of camp would have to be perfect. If he gets it right, the payoff is enormous. A middleweight title added to an already sparkling list of accomplishments, further strengthening his case in the pound-for-pound and all-time conversations. On the other hand, staying at super middleweight keeps him in control of a division that delivers consistent marquee nights. As the undisputed super middleweight champion, Crawford can command the calendar, pick a high-profile opponent, and continue to grow his star at 168 pounds. And yes, that includes the Canelo rematch conversation. It's hard to overstate the commercial gravity of Crawford versus Canelo 2 on pay-per-view. Casual fans tune in, the boxing faithful debate every angle, and the press tour alone would dominate headlines. If Crawford chooses to remain at 168, he holds the leverage and the belts, which matters in every negotiating room in this sport. Roy Jones Jr. isn't dismissing Canelo's greatness. In fact, he made it clear that Alvarez has done more than enough in boxing. That assessment speaks to Canelo's longevity, his championship miles, and the quality of his body of work. Jones hinted that outside of a Crawford rematch, there isn't much left for Canelo to accomplish that would significantly move his legacy. The subtext is clear. A rematch for Canelo makes sense because it's a chance to answer the one recent question mark on his record. For Crawford, though, Jones believes the door at 160 offers a more unique, legacy-defining challenge. When you look at this through a purely competitive lens, both paths have compelling arguments. A rematch at 168 would give Canelo the chance to adjust and would test Crawford over a second camp at his new weight. Tactically, it's a chess match between two of the most experienced fighters of their generation. The stakes are massive and the pressure equally so. For Crawford, staying sharp, fine-tuning his approach to 168, and tightening up any late-fight tendencies would be priorities. For Canelo, emphasizing volume, ring cutting, and body attack could be the blueprint. Now consider the middleweight option. The question is not just whether Bud can make 160, it's whether he can be the same devastating technician on fight night. Speed travels. Timing travels. But making sure the legs are there after the cut is essential, especially over championship rounds. A well-run camp would likely involve careful periodization, adjusted strength work, and a long runway to bring the weight down without sacrificing explosiveness. If he pulls it off, history is the reward. A 5-division champion adding the middleweight crown between 154 and 168. The business side matters too. Pay-per-view dynamics, gate potential, and global interest all tilt toward the bigger-name pairings, and Canelo remains one of boxing's most marketable stars. A Crawford vs. Canelo rematch sells itself and fills arenas. A move to 160 might not have the same instant commercial sizzle unless paired with a compelling champion or a unification angle, but the legacy value can outweigh the immediate dollars. For fighters at Crawford's level, that balance, legacy versus revenue, is part of every decision at this stage. Beyond legacy and business is the practical timeline. If Crawford keeps all the super middleweight belts, the sanctioning bodies will line up mandatory challengers. Managing those obligations while negotiating a Canelo rematch could get complicated. Dropping to 160 would also reshape the calendar. It takes time to do that move correctly and safely. Either way, he will be deliberate. Given how carefully he handled the shift to 168, expect the same level of planning if he chooses to target middleweight. It's worth underscoring how rare Bud's situation is. Most great fighters dominate a division or two. Crawford has conquered multiple weight classes and has shown the ability to carry his skills set up the scale without losing what makes him special. He's a high IQ southpaw switch hitter with elite timing, precision, and finishing instincts. Those traits age better than pure athleticism alone. That's why many believe he can win big fights at 168 or 160 if the preparation is right. Roy Jones Jr.'s perspective carries unique credibility because he lived the risks and rewards of ambitious weight moves. He climbed from middleweight to super middleweight to light heavyweight, and even all the way to heavyweight. He understands how body composition, speed, and power shift as the pounds go up or down. When he says, "Go get 160," and "close it off," he's thinking like a champion who appreciates the symmetry of a resume that touches every division in that 154 to 168 corridor. It's an argument rooted in legacy and craftsmanship. There's also an emotional element to consider. Athletes of Crawford's caliber are wired for challenges that feel historic. Beating Canelo Alvarez at 168 checked that box in one way. Adding the middleweight title would check it in another. The optics of a fighter in his late 30s taking on and winning at multiple weights are powerful. It speaks to discipline, adaptability, and a competitive fire that refuses to cool. Fans recognize it, peers respect it, and historians remember it. What about Canelo? If he remains at super middleweight, a rematch is the natural storyline. Canelo has spent years cleaning out contenders, unifying belts, and headlining the sport's biggest shows. Jones's comment that Canelo has done more than enough is not a slight. It's a nod to a career stacked with title fights and legacy-defining nights. If Alvarez decides the best step is to run it back with Crawford, it would be because it's the one fight that changes the conversation immediately. If he decides against it, whispers of taking a step back, or even retirement down the line, will only grow louder. For the fans, this is a rare kind of tension in boxing news. There is no wrong answer, only different flavors of greatness. If Crawford stays at 168, we get the dawn of a new era at super middleweight with an undisputed champion at the helm. If he goes to 160, we witness a quest to etch his name even deeper into the sport's history. If he takes the rematch, the sport gets a mega event with clear stakes and a clear narrative. Each road has risk. Each road has reward. From a training standpoint, people around the sport will be watching for clues. Will Crawford keep the added size and continue strength-focused work that suits 168? Or will we see a shift toward leaner conditioning and tempo-heavy sparring that suggests a move to 160? Nutritionists, strength coaches, and sparring partners will all play a role in whichever plan gets the green light. At this level, the margins decide outcomes. Camps are designed around the opponent, but they're also designed around the scale. Crawford's public posture, calm, patient, non-committal, signals a veteran who understands leverage. There's no reason to rush. The interest in his next fight won't fade. Promoters will call, networks will jockey, and arenas will wait. Whether it's Las Vegas under the brightest lights or a global venue that fits the moment, a Terence Crawford next fight announcement will stop the boxing world in its tracks. What should fans expect in the meantime? More speculation, more debate, and more strategic messaging from all sides. Team Crawford will keep options open. Team Canelo will weigh what a rematch means for their fighter right now versus months down the line. Middleweight contenders will angle for position, sensing that a superstar might be entering their division. This is how fight-making works at the summit of the sport. Public pressure, private talks, and a final decision that tries to balance legacy, money, and timing. Legacy. That word keeps coming up because it's the ultimate currency in boxing. Bud Crawford can already walk into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot based on what he's accomplished. But there are tiers even within greatness, and a win at 160 would elevate him to a rarefied class of multi-division champions who collected titles in a pattern that tells a complete story. At the same time, defending the undisputed crown at super middleweight would carve out a reign at 168 that gives the achievement staying power. Which holds more weight to you? Dominance in one division after a historic conquest, or another line on the championship roll call across divisions? While we wait, listen closely to the people who have done it before. Roy Jones Jr. is urging movement to 160 because he sees a clean way to write the final chapters. Others in the sport will disagree, pointing to the potential hazards of yo-yoing between weights at this stage. Both viewpoints are valid. That's what makes this moment so fascinating. Crawford's decision will reveal what matters most to him right now: the thrill of new ground at middleweight, the control of a champion's throne at 168, or the gravitational pull of a massive rematch with Canelo Alvarez. There's also the question of style matchups. At 168, Bud showed he can carry power and authority against a larger man while maintaining his trademark composure and counterpunching. At 160, the speed advantage could become even more pronounced, but he'd need to ensure that durability and stamina remain intact after the cut. Against Canelo in a second fight, adjustments on both sides would define the build-up. Would Canelo press more and cut off the ring earlier? Would Crawford vary his entries and maintain that sharp second-phase offense deeper into the night? The tactical layers are endless. We'll keep tracking every credible update, every quote that matters, and every hint that points to Crawford's next move. If you're locked in on this story, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our breakdowns and fight analysis as soon as news breaks. Drop your thoughts below. Should Terence "Bud" Crawford remain at 168 as the undisputed super middleweight champion? Should he cut to 160 and chase a middleweight title to round out his legacy? Or is the rematch with Canelo Alvarez the one fight the sport needs next? Like the video, share it with a fellow boxing fan, and tell us where you stand. This decision will shape the season, and maybe the era.